Hello, I'm Dylan.
I'm Kiyan.
This is Triple Play, that podcast with a blue guy, because this month we watched, quote-unquote, Aladdin, and the second one, Return of Jafar, and the third one, which is King of Thieves.
Written by Ron Clements, John Musker, Ted Elliott, Terry Rossio, Tad Stones, Mark McCorkle, and Robert Shuley.
Directed by Ron Clements, John Musker, Tad Stones, and Alan Zaslov. Zaslov, I'm going with it.
And released in 92, 94, and 96.
So we usually start with how many times we've seen these, and I've only seen the first one 5 or 6 times.
Yeah, I think I've probably seen the first one 20 to 30 times. I have it on VHS and probably watched it like once a day as a kid.
Yeah, I watched it a bunch as a kid, but I think I generally watched A Bug's Life more. I remember loving A Bug's Life when I was a kid and watching that a lot, so...
Yeah, this has nothing to do with Aladdin, I guess, but it's Disney related. My I guess, movie when I was a kid was Bambi. I watched Bambi every single day for more than 2 years. I've seen Bambi more than 600 times. Just like when I was 3 and 4, watched it every day.
And now you can recite every line by heart.
No.
Wow, okay. I mean, that would have been kind of cool. I mean, also kind of, it would have been kind of like, yeah, useless, but also kind of cool. Much like the third movie in this series, kind
useless,
of cool, but useless.
Kind of...
And altogether, unlike the second movie, which was just useless and not cool.
I mean, all movies are pretty much useless when you think about it. Like, if you ask yourself, did this movie really have to be made? The answer is always going to be no.
I mean, yeah, but that doesn't mean it's useless because its use is in providing entertainment. I don't think a movie is truly useless unless you're not entertained.
Unless 0 people were entertained by it.
Yes. And even then you could argue it's not useless because it would have still made some marginal amount of money, which would mean that the studio
Unless it just lost money all around. Unless nobody made money from it. I don't know how that's possible. But...
Yeah, because they would have to pay the actors, and they would come out of it pretty good. They'd be like, well, it wasn't useless to me, so... Which I'm sure all the people involved in the second and third movie, this franchise, were walking all the way to the bank laughing.
Yeah, apparently Robin Williams got paid $1 million in like lawsuit settlements for them using a picture of the genie. Anyway, we'll get there soon.
Yeah, in like 2 minutes.
Because there's really nothing much. Well, that's actually not true. There's not as much interesting about the making of these movies as some other movies.
Well, the first one had a long and storied and interesting line to development.
Yeah, so let's go all the way back to the beginning. The original story in the Arabian Nights.
Yes.
Anyway, I read, well, I didn't read the original story from the Arabian Nights. I just read a summary of it, which isn't the same as reading it, but apparently this was added in like the 1800s by a French guy. It's not actually from the original copy of the book.
Damn Frenchmen. Well, so the like making of documentary that Disney made called, amazingly, The Making of Aladdin.
Whoa. Getting real creative there. Okay.
They go all the way back to the original story, and then they're like, but Aladdin's roots can also be traced back to this film from 19-something called A Thief in Baghdad. And then they made a remake of it in 1940 in color called A Thief in Baghdad. And the narrator is actually the guy who plays Aladdin's dad in the third one by some strange coincidence. But anyway, he's talking all about how the color added all those new elements and how the story is timeless and they keep adding new things to it through the years and different mediums, and now with animation they can do all sorts of new things.
Well, if it's timeless, then why has it been forgotten by time?
You make a convincing argument. If you couldn't tell, the documentary, The Making of Aladdin, when you watch it, it feels like a 25-minute advertisement for the movie.
And every making of from a DVD feels like just an ad for the movie, honestly.
Which doesn't make any sense to me because it mostly only ever gets bundled with the DVD.
If
So
you're
watching
if
it,
you're watching this, you probably have bought the movie, or at the very least, maybe have some intention of putting some money towards the franchise if you're interested enough to watch a making of.
yeah, exactly. Like, why? But yeah, this one felt overly so, and watching it, I couldn't help but feel that it was only made for marketing purposes. Because it told me almost nothing that I didn't already know, and basically almost nothing in general. So
I mean, maybe they aired it on TV. Who knows?
I mean, maybe. So, anyway, the story of Aladdin the movie, not Aladdin the story, begins with Alan Menken and his longtime collaborator Howard Ashman. They wanted to adapt the original story as a movie. Obviously, I guess.
And then they realized, I guess, that in the original story, the original story is actually just two guys battling with genies, which actually sounds pretty cool. And it's all just dumb luck, apparently, and it's just, they didn't like the message that it provided, which is just wish your way out of any situation, which is what the second and third one really were.
I mean, yeah. So, kind of weird.
But they're like, yeah, we got to Disneyfy this and make it better.
I mean, considering
worse.
at the time they basically were owned by Disney, the two of them, I'm not surprised. Howard Ashman and Alan Menken actually started as composers. Well, so Alan Menken's the composer, Ashman was the lyricist, and they did Broadway shows. They did Little Shop of Horrors was Menken's first show. And eventually, during the quote-unquote Disney Renaissance period, which is when they were making the newer the newer hand-drawn animation movies, kind of in the style of the like Golden Age, you know. So the Golden Age was like Snow White and Cinderella, and then the Renaissance was like Little Mermaid and Aladdin and them. They got brought in by Disney to write songs for the movies and Beauty and the Beast because they were like, we got to make musicals like the original ones were. And also because musicals generally flow better. Apparently Beauty and the Beast was not going to be a musical originally. And then they realized the movie was sucking, so they called in Menken and Ashman to finish it by adding songs to it.
Just knowing that is depressing. Just knowing there's an alternate timeline where that ballroom song doesn't exist, and knowing that I'm not living in it.
Wow, you really hate singing, don't you?
Yeah.
Personally, I think the songs do save Beauty and the Beast, to be honest. That movie would kind of not be as interesting as it is without those songs.
Well, it's not very interesting with the songs, so...
Howard Ashman would die halfway through writing songs for this movie.
No, I'm just kidding.
He actually had AIDS. He died of complications from AIDS. This was during the whole AIDS epidemic.
This is during the whole time where if you had AIDS, you were going to die.
Yeah, the epidemic. But anyway, so they wrote a 40-page treatment, and Disney was like, yeah, kind of cool. Can you come fix Beauty and the Beast first? And they were like, well, I guess.
Can you come fix this movie that's coming out next week? That's kind of what they did with Aladdin later on with the other dudes.
So they fixed Beauty and the Beast. They were like...
Fixed, quote unquote.
They did fix it. In my opinion, they did fix it.
Well,
because
that's like your
I
opinion,
think the
man.
songs in the Beauty and the Beast are probably some of the best Disney has.
Yeah, well, that's a pretty popular opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
just
I
saying.
also think that Beauty and the Beast has the worst song they have, which is that ballroom song that you mentioned. I actually think it's one of the worst Disney songs.
Under the Sea is pretty bad.
I like Under the Sea. I like its jovial, upbeat feel.
I mean, all of them are pretty bad in my opinion, but yeah, Under the Sea, except the Robin Hood ones. Yeah, I like those.
Wow. Hypocrisy at its finest. Anyway.
Yep, that's me. No.
Friend Like Me is one of the best, in my opinion. That's in this movie.
Is that
the genie song in the first Aladdin. The big show number.
Okay, yeah, all right. Anyway, yeah.
After saving Beauty and the Beast, they were like, you can go back and work on Aladdin now. Except,
And
as it turns out, a composer and a lyricist aren't the best people to get to write your movies, so they actually hired some actual writers to write the damn thing.
what an unheard of concept.
I know, right? Why not just let the composer write the movie?
I mean, if you look at the history of video games, that's kind of what they did. They're just like, hey, let's let these programmers and stuff write these games.
Yeah, and look at the stories that came out of that. Most of them are universally garbage.
Anyway, they got the people who would go on to write such great movies as Shrek.
Well, okay. To be fair.
And Pirates of the Caribbean, so there's that.
The guy who
Go check out
was
our Pirates of the Caribbean episode.
in charge of Disney
In our future
animation.
Shrek episode.
Oh, yeah, eventually. God help us all. The guy who was in charge of Disney animation at the time was Jeffrey Katzenberg. And Jeffrey Katzenberg eventually would have a falling out with Disney after Aladdin gets released, obviously. And he would go on to found DreamWorks with Steven Spielberg and eventually come up with the idea for Shrek. So...
Well, the idea to adapt the book of Shrek.
Yeah. The quote-unquote idea.
With early 2000s pop music.
You mean Smash Mouth?
Yeah, and the other not as famous Shrek songs. Like Kids in America, I think that was in that movie.
Hallelujah was in that movie, but I don't know who sang the version that was in that movie, because pretty much everyone and their mother has covered Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Aladdin. So they wrote Aladdin, and they got these two directors who had worked for Disney before, but I don't remember what movie they made before this.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't think I ever actually knew or looked it up anyway, so.
Well, they would go on to make Treasure Planet, one of the best Disney movies.
Yeah, probably the best, or Zootopia. Just saying, just putting that out there. If you disagree, you're just wrong, so yeah.
Well, obviously Atlantis is also one of the best Disney movies, clearly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so they were brought in, and they started working on the project, and they kind of realized that this was going nowhere, and they decided to basically scrap a ton of stuff they'd been working on, including Aladdin's mom.
Yeah. They decided, I read, to make it a less serious Disney movie like, I don't know, The Little Mermaid and like the 40s Disney movies. And they're like, hey, let's write this blue genie and make him Robin Williams.
Well, I also heard from the obvious marketing documentary, they were like, so the place we got most of our inspiration was actually MC Hammer and his video Can't Touch This from the 90s. It was
I
90s,
guess that
80s.
would explain the pants.
Yep. Yeah, that was my exact thought. I was like, well, I guess that explains that. And they're like, yeah, we really drew from MC Hammer for Aladdin. And I was like,
Yeah, well, I read the original Aladdin character was a lot younger, and they decided to go for a more supermodel look.
Well, they also apparently realized that during the animation process, when they were putting these characters to screen, that it was really obvious why Aladdin would fall for Jasmine, but not so obvious why Jasmine would fall for Aladdin, so they decided to make Aladdin a lot more overconfident and boisterous, and apparently that Tom Cruise vibe, I also heard.
Yeah, I listened to a scrapped song, which is the last song, what's his name, Ashman wrote ever in his life. And it had it was played over like storyboard sequences, and the Aladdin in those sequences looked a lot younger.
Okay.
So yeah, you can find that on YouTube, I guess.
Which song was it?
It was scrapped. It's not in the actual movie, but it's called "Humiliate the Boy," I think.
Okay. Because I was gonna say, yeah, they ended up cutting, I think, 6 Ashman and Menken songs or something like that, and 3 of them would make it into the stage version of the movie when they eventually made a stage version of it, actually pretty recently, surprisingly. But anyway, so apparently the animator who animated Jasmine based her on his sister, which I thought was kind of weird.
Weird.
But, whatever floats your boat, I guess. This was interesting, actually, that I learned from that documentary. Each character has, like, a head animator who only works on that character. And then there's, like, a lead animator on the entire movie whose job it is to bring the characters together on screen. And obviously, each of these animators has their own team that works with them, but there's like a character-specific head animator and then like a head animator on the whole movie whose job it is to bring the character animators sections together to make the movie.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I'm guessing that's a Disney-only thing or like most wealthy animation companies' only thing.
Yeah, and it was also interesting.
I'm guessing your average Saturday morning cartoon isn't doing that.
Well, because probably your average Saturday morning cartoon is trying to save as much budget as possible, like the second movie. But the directors would kind of, go to all the animators and work with them. And also, they had this like really in-depth character design process because apparently the background animators were making everything kind of really curvy and like Middle Eastern architecture, the square buildings, but then the like palace is really curvy and everything.
Yeah, well, we can talk about the backgrounds afterwards.
But the only reason why I bring that up is because the directors then specifically asked the animators to design all the protagonists with really curvy lines and really curvy definitions, but then like Jafar and Iago have really angular definitions. They have really angular costumes because they're supposed to clash with...
Iago doesn't really have a costume.
Yeah, but they're supposed to clash with the protagonists and the like setting that they're in.
Uh-huh.
So I thought that was pretty interesting. Would explain why Jafar's chin is so freaking well-defined.
I guess why the genie has a huge bulbous chin.
Yes.
Kind of like Robin... Well, not really, but... Yeah, so as far as the background goes, what I thought was interesting, and yes, I only think this is interesting because I'm Persian, but if you didn't know, a lot of like Arabic and from art from the Middle Ages, actually all Arabic / Muslim art from the Middle Ages doesn't have humans in it because their idea is like only God can create humans, so we can't draw humans, which, I mean, think about that, whatever you want. But so they're like, oh, shoot. The source material we're drawing on only uses geometric shapes and doesn't include any humans, animals, plants, or buildings. What are we going to do? So they turn to more like Persian classic artwork to work on the backgrounds with, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, that's interesting. I actually didn't know that like traditional artwork didn't have people in.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, Persians never apparently did that, so they're just like, all right, let's go.
It's just a thing in their culture, I suppose.
Yeah.
And yeah, so anyway, they got like roughly 3/4 of the way through the production. They're like, well, this just isn't working.
Scrap it. We're done. We're done here.
So Disney was like, well, to the directors.
Cut our losses.
Like, well, you've got like 3 months to make it work. Figure it out. They're like, oh God, oh God, oh God.
So they rewrote large portions of the script. Apparently made it, well, not apparently, but what I guess inferred from reading a summary of the original Arabian Nights version is that they deviated more from that original story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, my impression from the making of documentary was that in the original story, it's not about like Aladdin and Jasmine falling in love, and that a lot of the later script edits played that up more because they realized that making the love story a more central part of the story made it more coherent.
Well, I'm pretty sure Aladdin does marry the princess whose name isn't Jasmine in the original story.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure it's just like, hey, I wish to be a prince and now I can marry you.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is exactly what this movie didn't do.
So, is it a good adaptation or not? Probably not. But anyway.
Does it surpass the source material? I don't know.
Few movies do, to be honest. I think this is the part, or the part of the development cycle, I guess, where Menken and Rice wrote more songs for the movie. Apparently Jafar's song at the end only exists because they really liked the guy's singing voice, so they wanted to give Jafar a song, and Menken and Rice wrote 2 songs for that part of the movie that both got rejected. So they're like, well, we'll just use a freaking Arabian Nights reprise then if that'll please you. And Disney was like, yes.
That will please us. Okay.
One of those songs that they wrote for that scene was actually a Menken and Ashman song that made it into the stage musical. And it's a song that basically explains Jafar's entire plan. Because it's basically Jafar lamenting about how everyone hates him, how his life is kind of sucked up to this point, and the only reason why he wants power is because everything's kind of sucked for him, and now he just wants to be better. He just wants a better life.
Kind of glad they cut that.
It makes more sense in the stage version of the show because they move it way earlier in the show, and they've changed it so that it shows up before he captures Aladdin.
Yeah. That might make a little more sense. Rather than just throwing it in at the end.
But anyway.
Yeah.
What else? Yeah.
So, I mean, I read that this marked a turning point in animated movies where they started getting more famous and well-known celebrities and actors to voice characters. Namely with Robin Williams, because I don't know who else voiced any of the other characters in this. Well, apparently the boyfriend guy from the later episodes of Full House was Aladdin. And apparently the audition tape he sent in had his mom reading the other characters' lines.
I recognize the name Gilbert Gottfried, who played Iago.
He's I don't know if he's an actor. He's some kind of celebrity. I
recognize
want to say comedian,
the name,
but I don't know.
But I don't know where I recognize the name from. But I do recognize the name. Princess Jasmine, though, was just
everyone else is pretty much a
unknown.
nobody.
I don't know if this is weird to you, but when I watch videos of like voice actors talking and their voice sounds exactly like their characters, that always weirds me out because I always associate their voice with the character they played, unless I see the person before I see the character they voice. I don't know why that is, because I think it's just, an association of the voice to the face thing.
Yeah, I typically don't watch voice actor interviews or any interviews at all, really. So.
Well, because they were interviewing them in the making of, the obvious marketing making of, and listening to Jasmine speak was so weird because I always thought she had like played up parts of her voice for that character because it didn't sound natural, I guess.
Yeah, it doesn't sound natural at all.
But actually, she sounds exactly like that when she talks. So,
well, that's got to be pretty weird then to talk to her because it actually sounds like a cartoon character voice. Like,
it was kind of a little disconcerting listening to her talk. I was like, She's also a blonde in real life. That kind of threw me off too.
Yeah.
And apparently Genie was written for Robin Williams, and Robin Williams asked for like $6 million to do the first movie, but they eventually negotiated this really, really like specific contract. There was like they'd pay him $50,000, but they couldn't use his name in the marketing. They couldn't take Genie's picture or Robin Williams' image and have it be more than, I think, 25% of any marketing material.
Yeah, and they went back on that, which is why they eventually had to pay him millions later on. So
yeah, because like the very first poster they put out had Genie as like 50% of the poster. And that's also why Robin Williams didn't do the second movie, was because he was like,
mad.
Disney are scumbags.
Came back to do the third one, though, so...
Yeah, probably because they paid him millions of dollars, and he was like, turns out I can milk these people for all their worth.
Gotta get that Genie money. Meanwhile, Disney doesn't care. They're just like, yeah, we'll just throw millions at you. Just come back to be the Genie.
Yeah, that's kind of the like slimy thing, is that it almost feels like Disney made the deal with Robin Williams to not have to pay him as much up front, and then
just pay him a couple million later.
And then just when he sued, they knew that they'd have a couple million that they could just throw at him to make him go away.
Yeah, pretty much. It's Disney for you.
Yeah, I feel like Disney, this isn't the first nor the last time that Disney's done this. I feel like it's something they've done before and have done since.
And done successfully, so...
Yeah. I mean, turns out money talks.
Turns out we can call them out on it, and other people can call them out on it, but no one can do anything to stop them.
Yeah, it's kind of like how, if you've ever wondered, the U.S. copyright law is so goddamn messed up, is because it's because of Disney.
Because of a mouse and pants.
Yeah, it's because every time that Mickey Mouse is about to come into the public domain, Disney throws a bunch of money at senators and congressmen to extend the copyright law after death.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Can't blame him, though. If I was a senator or a congressman, I would take that money, too. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, money talks. It'd take a senator of remarkably strong moral standing not to take that money.
Or just an idiot.
Or just an honorable person.
Or just a not smart person who hates wealth.
Yeah, I mean, but also at some point, if you want to be wealthy, you became a senator. You kind of picked the wrong profession, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing where you have to make a choice between having monetary wealth or having inner wealth. And 99% of people, including me, are going to choose monetary, so you know that's the right choice.
I'll take inner wealth any day.
Oh, I won't. If it wasn't already obvious from the 5 times I already said throw that money at me.
Disney, throw that money at us. Yeah,
Anyone
obviously
from
I'm
Disney
lying,
is listening to
by the way. 50-50. I'm like 50-50. Inner wealth versus monetary wealth. Depends who's giving me the monetary wealth. If it's some slime skis bag like Disney, nope, I'll pass. Thank you.
Anyway, yeah, the movie came out, and surprise, it was a great critical and commercial success.
Yeah.
Well, the commercial success is no surprise because it's Disney.
Disney literally owns the world.
The critical success is also not much of a surprise because most Disney movies are pretty well liked. Most.
That's because Disney likes to just pretend that its non-critical successes just don't exist by immediately putting out a better movie and then being like, that other movie, it didn't exist, haha. Then like immediately disowning it. As soon as people start asking questions, like just no. How about we talk about our new movie?
People who ask questions about bad Disney movies disappear mysteriously.
If this podcast shuts down in the next month,
you'll know why. Look for us. Tell our families. Okay.
Tell our story. Was Disney.
But no, this movie was actually overpraised in my opinion because I mean it's on the back of the DVD case. Some dude saying this is the funniest animated movie of all time. And there were other people I saw. Well, I mean I only read the critical reception part on Wikipedia, so I guess I don't know the full extent of it. But there were people who were like, "This is the best movie ever, ever."
Well, okay, the most comedic animated film, I think in context may not have been wrong. Like, if that review was written at the time, it may not have been wrong.
I mean, if you like this stupid Robin Williams comedy in this, which I didn't think was funny or even really laugh at.
I did. And also, like, if you watch animated movies that preceded this, like, almost none of them were trying to be funny. So the fact this movie was even trying to be comedic pretty much by default makes it the most comedic one.
I mean, not to the extent, I guess, that this one was. Or like we're more slapstick, maybe. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But my sense of humor is so messed up anyway that I can no longer ever think anything's funny that isn't just terrible and completely wrong on all moral and human levels. So.
You should see a doctor for that, I think.
No, I think I'll be fine.
See a psychiatrist, maybe. If this was a company, we could company-ordered psychiatrist, but decorative vegetables, just a hobby thing. So, yeah.
Unless anyone from Disney is listening to this.
Instead of knocking you off, Disney hires a psychiatrist for you.
Got hired at Disney twice. Didn't take the job either times, but yeah.
You could have been getting that sweet, sweet Disney money.
That sweet $10.50 an hour.
Then we would have had to disclose at the beginning of these things that you're paid off by Disney. Anyway, since Disney in the 90s was basically bankrupt, they were like, well, we can just make a whole bunch of shitty direct-to-animated sequels to a bunch of movies we made that were really good, and people will buy them, and then we can just take the money and run.
Well, it was less take the money and run and more take the money and make another direct-to-DVD sequel.
For Aladdin, yeah. But for freaking Cinderella 3, A Twist in Time? No. That was take the money and run. Bambi 2?
Bambi 2. I haven't watched Bambi 2, actually.
Kronk's New Groove?
Hey, apparently Kronk's New Groove is pretty good, according to what people say, and I watched like 5 minutes of it.
I mean, I guess.
Anyway, I found out that Aladdin 2, well, it's actually not called 2, but I think...
It's called Return of
2.
Jafar.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, Return of Jafar is apparently the first American animated direct-to-video movie.
Nice. Must be why it sucks.
Which I found out actually in a completely unrelated thing that I was just looking up. I found out the first direct-to-video animation was something Japanese from the 80s by the Ghost in the Shell director, which is pretty weird.
A little bit. Not really.
Apparently, in terms of anime, direct-to-DVD is seen as more high-budget and more worthwhile than TV shows because of Japanese censorship laws, apparently.
Interesting.
And stuff you can and can't show on TV in terms of violence and sex and drug use and other stuff.
Pretty interesting. Yeah. I'm surprised a similar thing didn't develop in America because, if anything, America's even more, less stringent in some aspects and more stringent in other on what you can show on TV.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you compare to like UK and Japan, I think are actually a lot less strict, but I don't know.
I mean, in certain aspects, like I said, show some, boobs. All good. Show a religious cult. Nope. Get yourself shut down.
Anyway, yeah, so this was the first one, and Disney sold millions and made millions on it, which turned it into a big industry.
And it's...
and Land Before Time 2 to 14. I think one of those, like the 7th one actually came out in theaters or something like that. Something weird like that.
Jesus.
We're going to have to watch those eventually. I mean, actually not, because they're not really trilogies.
Land Before Time podcast. Just spend a year watching one a month.
Just watch them as they came out. So watch the first one, wait 6 years, and then do an episode on the second one, and then do one a year.
No, thank you. So, yeah, the second one doesn't have any original songs. They're just all, like, rearrangements of songs from the first movie and discarded songs from the first movie. And also they made the brilliant decision to base it around Iago instead of Aladdin.
Well, it was originally designed because they planned an Aladdin TV show before the movie even came out. So this was originally designed to just be, like, the first episode of the TV show. And,
yeah, if I saw this as the first episode, I would just quit. I'd just be like, this isn't worth my time.
Yeah, but you got to remember the other episodes are like 20 minutes long, so you don't actually have to sit through an hour of garbage. You only have to sit through 20 minutes.
True, but if anything...
You wouldn't want to sit through any amount of time?
Yeah, because it's going to be the same people who wrote and animated and worked on this. So, like, it's the length of time... while it is going to have an effect on the quality, isn't going to have as big of an effect on quality as you might hope.
I mean, it was just a joke.
No, I know, but I'm just making an
insightful
statement on it.
But the thing is...
Attempting to, anyway.
The thing is, like, obviously right after watching the first one, the animation in the second one is garbage, but, like, as a TV show, it's pretty much normal as, like, an early 90s show. It's just like, right,
animation wasn't my complaint with it, because you get used to it, like, pretty quickly.
It was my complaint with it.
I mean, it's not my complaint with why I wouldn't watch the TV show, because if it's a TV show, obviously.
I mean, the third one was budget animation, too, and it was way better than the second one.
Yeah, the second one felt like way more of a cash grab than the third one.
Yeah, well, it was also Disney's first, and I guess any American studio's first experiment with direct-to-video, so there's that.
I'm surprised they didn't just shut the experiment down right there.
Well, it made a lot of money. According to some Aladdin fan site that looks like it was made in 96, they sold over 10 million copies. And I think Wikipedia says like 8 million. I don't know where they...
Who are these 8 million people who are so in love with Aladdin they bought the sequel? Oh my God.
Well, I mean, I had a ton of Disney VHS tapes and DVDs as a kid. I don't know if I had any of the sequels, though.
I didn't own any of the sequels, but I did own pretty much all of the first ones, except for Sleeping Beauty. I still haven't actually seen Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah, I haven't either.
But I've seen Cinderella, Snow White, Alice in Wonderland, all those other classics, but not Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah, I haven't seen Sleeping Beauty. Haven't seen Black Cauldron.
I haven't seen that one either, actually. That's one that everybody seems to forget.
That's the one that Disney wants everyone to forget.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think I really have
seen freaking Atlantis.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I've actually seen any of the sequels until now, I guess.
I hadn't, except for that the Buzz Lightyear one that they made. They made because there was a Buzz Lightyear TV show called like Buzz Lightyear of Star Command.
Yeah. I've seen Toy Story 2, but that was more of a proper sequel.
Yeah, because that got released in theaters and had a full movie budget.
Had an actual story and was good and expanded on the things that made the first one good.
And had an actual production team behind it. Yeah, but no, Disney made this Buzz Lightyear of Star Command thing, which I rather enjoyed when I was a kid. But maybe it was because I was a kid. I haven't watched it since I was a kid because I don't want the nostalgia to wear off.
All right.
I'm going to revel in the fact that I liked it and thought it was good back then and just pretend it was still good now. May not be. Haven't watched it recently. Like I said, don't know.
I mean, you can watch it again, but if you go into it with the mindset that, like, yeah, I'm a 21-year-old guy watching this cartoon, let's hope it's good, you're not going to like it because you're going to be comparing it to stuff you like now.
No, the reason why I don't want to watch it is not because of that. It's because I have a feeling that maybe I'm misremembering it. Like when we watched Never-Ending Story and was like, well, this isn't as good as you were like, this wasn't as good as I remember it.
No, I never watched the movie.
Oh, okay.
I only watched the first 5 minutes of the movie and thought it was so garbage and crap compared to the book that I just turned it off.
Then I must be talking with someone else. Yeah, someone else mentioned that they watched Never-Ending Story recently and it wasn't as good as they remembered. And I don't want that to happen for me.
It probably won't, but...
Probably, but you never
choice.
know.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, apparently the second one isn't based on any classic story. It's just
I feel like
something
that much is evident the instant they based it on Iago.
Well, yeah, I guess we can get more into that when we talk about how it worked as a trilogy, which is not very well. But that one was a huge success.
So they made a third one.
Which this one was... The third one, I think, was a little bit better in part, at least, because the animation seemed a little bit better. But also because it was based on Alibaba and the 40 Thieves, slightly. And which had the open sesame part.
When you think about it, is a little bit weird because Genie mentions Alibaba and his 40 Thieves in the first movie. And then you get to the third one and it's not Alibaba and his 30 Thieves, it's Kasim and his 40 Thieves.
Well, maybe Kasim dethroned Alibaba.
Kasim killed Alibaba?
Yeah.
Man,
maybe.
I was reading about the second one. I forgot to mention this. And the villain in the second one is this guy named Abaz Mal. And it didn't click to me until I was...
abysmal.
Yeah. And I was like, well, that's just absolutely abysmal. Anyway, yeah, so the third one.
The third one exists.
Yeah, the third one doesn't have much behind it except, hey, they got Robin Williams back by paying him a bunch of money, like we mentioned 3 times already in this episode.
Yeah, there are reasons why the story of the second and third one aren't that great, but we'll get into that when we, again, start talking about how it worked as a trilogy.
Yeah, the third one, they actually also wrote original songs for it. And
I mean, they're not like up to par with the first one, but...
I found a video that was like behind the microphone of Aladdin 3, and I was like, who the heck actually made a documentary about Aladdin 3? But the version that I found was on YouTube, and it was split into parts that were about 6 minutes each, and it was a guy videotaping his TV screen with his phone. And I was watching it because it was pretty interesting, but then I noticed halfway through the first part that because he was just videotaping his screen, you could hear a clock in the background ticking like a grandfather clock. So consistently, for the final 4 minutes of the video, all I heard was tick, 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 tick.
Some really fast seconds.
Well, I'm exaggerating for comedic effect, but anyway, at that point I was like, well, I'm not going to watch any more of this. But out of that first part, I got that, yeah, they actually did write original songs, and the people actually enjoyed singing them, and that's about as far as I got.
We didn't mention that while we were watching this, we were like, these aren't the same actors as the first one. Who are these hacks? But apparently they all were, except for the genie. So I do think they were probably paid less, so they just kind of hammed it in more than the first one. And they knew it wasn't coming out in theaters. I don't blame them either.
It feels like the second one, they're all there just for the paycheck and, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't blame them for that.
Yeah.
I do blame the filmmakers
kind
for
of like
giving
in the
them
new
the paycheck.
Guardians of the Galaxy ride where they have a video of the actors doing a little scene and it's really bad.
Kind of like Transformers 5 where Anthony Hopkins really obviously only shows up because he needed a paycheck even though he was the best character in the movie.
Oh, did you read anything about the controversial lyrics and lines?
Yeah. And I actually have to say, the line they cut is kind of not like a really good representation.
I guess not.
And understand why people were up in arms about it.
Yeah, I guess so, but
maybe we should explain what.
Yeah. So originally there was a line referencing. I don't know if this is a true thing that actually happened, but in ancient times in the Middle East, where they would cut off your ear or I guess any other body part, such as your hand, for minor things. In the movie, the line or the scrapped line, or the line that they cut from all subsequent versions of it was cut off your ear if they don't like your face. So,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't know how historically accurate any of that is, but probably not very, going off everything else in the movie. And everything else Disney has really done. So
yeah, but it's also kind of an insensitive line to imply that these people will just cut off your ear if they don't like your face.
But at the same time, this takes place thousands of years in the future, so how do we know?
Look, that's not confirmed. That's just a fan theory that I buy into because it makes the movie better.
And it makes sense.
You don't know the theory. The genie comes out of his lamp and he says he's been in there for 10,000 years, but then he makes references to movies from the 80s.
And they have a bunch of stuff that they would never have, so...
Think
of that what you will.
But anyway, they replaced the line with the line, something, the heat is immense. The heat is intense?
Something like that. The desert's immense and the heat is intense.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That was it.
Apparently, I didn't really notice or whatever in the version we watched, but apparently that one line is sung in a way deeper voice, according to Wikipedia, than the rest of the song.
Yeah. I did kind of always think that line was a little bit out of place when you listen to the lyrics, because I've listened to the first song hundreds of times over now at this point, because my mom directs elementary school productions. They've done Aladdin a few times. And if you listen to the rest of the lyrics, that line feels really benign compared to the rest of them. Well, benign in the fact that it doesn't really fit with the mode of the rest of the song. So the rest of the song is talking about traveling across the desert and how dangerous it is to go on these journeys. And then it's like, oh yeah, but it's flat and immense and the heat is intense.
Well, that can be pretty dangerous in real life, but
yes.
Maybe in a movie song, it's like, all right, whatever. 1/4 of Saudi Arabia is uninhabitable. Just like nobody lives there. And yeah, there was also some other controversy about sexual content. This one was really overblown, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
A lot of people complained about a murmured line. I think it's in the
It's in the first one.
It's in the first one?
If you're talking about the one that I read about, which is when Aladdin's talking with...
Teenagers take off your clothes?
Yeah, with the cat. Yeah, that's in the first one. It's apparently been removed, so we didn't hear it. But he apparently says something like, oh, kids, take off your clothes. But Disney was like, no, he's saying, kitty, take off now. Shooing away.
Like that.
And,
a
whatever.
lot of people complained about it.
Disney has put some, overtly sexual things in their movies. The dust clouds in Lion King that gets kicked up and supposedly says SFX because special effects, but when you look at it, it seems pretty obvious that it's the word sex.
And all the phallic symbols in their movies.
Yeah, like the obvious phallic symbol in the Little Mermaid castle on the cover of the DVD, or the priest getting an erection when he's doing the thing at the end of Little Mermaid. That one seems pretty obvious, and they're like, no, it's just his knee, and it's like,
Yeah, but I don't know why people target this. I read some first-hand statements about this, and one of the most
first-hand from the people affected.
Yeah, I guess one of the funniest ones was, I feel like I've entrusted my kids to pedophiles.
Wow, that's a real big logical leap.
Yeah, they were like, I used to trust Disney, but no more. I immediately threw the movie in the garbage after I found out about this.
Wow,
yeah.
That's a really overblown reaction. Jeez.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, because you could barely hear the line in the original from what I've heard, and then it's like you could be mistaking it. Like, visual references to things like that are more difficult to explain away, but like a murmured line, it could just be your imagination inventing things you want to hear.
Maybe. But that's kind of the same for like the images too, because they're like, oh no, it's his knee, and you're like, I'm inventing the things that I want to see.
I mean, true.
But I mean, if it's in pictures, it's like it's there though.
Yeah.
So. And it's not just like a misheard thing. It's like actually there on the screen to make of what you will.
Yeah.
Anyway, that bit of controversy was, regardless of the other one, this part was pretty overblown in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, actually. I don't know. To an extent, I can understand parents being like, I don't want to expose our kids to any of this sexual nonsense.
I can
but
understand
at the same
not
time,
wanting to expose like a 5-year-old kid to sexual content, but was this really sexual content?
Yeah, that's the exact point I was going to make, actually. Anyway, so that's that. The making of. I don't think they ever had a fourth one planned, thank God. Although they
apparently I guess we can talk about the future before, because we're already talking about it now, I guess. Apparently they're making a live action one. Directed by Guy Ritchie.
Disney apparently has no ideas anymore, and all they do right now is make live action versions of all their old movies.
Apparently all anyone does anymore is just rehash things with the same name.
There are some original movies out there that are very good. I really enjoyed Nice Guys last year and Arrival, both of which were original movies.
Yeah, people told me to watch both of those movies, and I didn't watch either of them.
Nice Guys.
I showed them. No,
Nice Guys would fit your sense of humor, I think. But yeah, so Disney's live-action adaptations recently have kind of been hit or miss. The Alice in Wonderland's one, they're total trash.
Super miss.
Yeah, those are total trash. I rather enjoyed their version of Cinderella. Jungle Book I thought was visually interesting, but otherwise rather it didn't bring anything to the table that the original didn't, so I didn't know why they made it.
For money, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't remember the Cinderella one. I think that one was a lower profile one.
Cinderella did kind of fly under the radar, which I'm kind of bummed for because I think it actually did get nominated for a costume design Oscar, which I think it should have won, by the way. But out of all of the ones that Disney's done, I think that one actually brought something new to the table because it didn't focus just on what the original movie did. It started earlier and it gave you more of a background on Cinderella's relationship with the stepmother and how the stepmother came into her family and made her more sympathetic because now you understood how she had come into this situation, whereas the original kind of just touched on it her father left or whatever.
I mean, yeah, you're going to have to do more with these new adaptations anyway when you're turning a 70-minute movie into a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
But it's just like whether they make it good and interesting or not.
Yeah, and that was like with the Jungle Book one, they didn't. The Jungle Book one was just there. It was the exact same movie
from the first one.
Yeah, it was the same movie. And I don't know what they're going to do with the Aladdin one. I think Guy Ritchie as a director can be very unique, for lack of a better term. But I don't know if that's going to...
that King Arthur thing.
Yeah, they got totally destroyed, which I haven't seen. But he also directed Man from U.N.C.L.E., which I thoroughly enjoyed. But I don't think he's going to be enough to save the movie because like most Disney movies these days are movie by committee. It's Disney making the movie and the director's just there to be a scapegoat. I mean, which feels like it's really obvious with what just happened with the Han Solo movie.
I don't know what happened with the Han Solo movie because I'm so over Star Wars that it's not even funny. But
well, so they hired Lord and Miller, these two directors who directed 21 Jump Street and I think the Lego movie. They're like really well known for their comedic talents because both of those are really funny movies. So they hired them because I guess they wanted to make like a funny Han Solo movie. And then recently they either quit or got fired. It's unclear because, and then it came out that Lucasfilm was like, oh, they were making a Lord and Miller movie and they wanted to make a Lord and Miller movie, but no, we wanted a Star Wars movie. And it's like, well, why did you hire them then? And then, so it just feels like Disney's making its movies through committees and then just using the directors. They're telling the directors what to do and they're making the movies. That's how it seems from the outside.
Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, that's probably true for many companies out there.
To an extent, yes. because obviously the companies don't want to lose money on a movie. But I feel like it's more so with Disney because they're such a big juggernaut at this point.
Yeah, I mean, when you... I don't know. Because when you go and watch a Disney movie, you know it's going to be a by-the-books movie.
Yeah.
So, there's already that. So, like, still, like, you already know. Even when you go into watching, like, Aladdin, the cartoon, you know it's going to be a by-the-books movie. Which I guess it will. I guess it wasn't with the genie and stuff. But, yeah, I don't know.
Which is why
I don't know enough about it, I guess.
Well, which is why, I'd be interested to see if Guy Ritchie actually gets to do Guy Ritchie things with the movie, because, like I said, Guy Ritchie has a very unique style, but it doesn't fit the Disney style, at all. Or, the style they've been going for with these live-action movies, so... Well,
the Beauty and the Beast one was a pretty big hit, supposedly.
It's true, I did not watch it.
I kind of watched it in the background. My mom was watching it on TV, so... Yeah, I mean, I think, probably... I want to say one of, but probably the actual big thing that made people watch it was what's her face,
Emma
Hermione.
Watson.
Yeah,
probably. Well, also the original Beauty and the Beast was probably the biggest animated film at the time that it came out. It was nominated for Best Picture. It was the first and only animated picture to be nominated for Best Picture until Toy Story 3. So it was kind of it was a huge deal. Yeah. When it was animated, then they made a live-action version. So everybody who loved the animated was like, well, I'll go see. And they added one new song because the Academy has this dumb rule where you have to have at least one original song to be nominated for Best Score or whatever. So they wrote a new song for Beauty and the Beast.
In a post-credits sequence.
They're probably going to do that with Aladdin, too. They'll just have to call up Alan Menken again. And
I don't know if they're going to make it a musical.
Oh, yeah, that's true. They might not. They might actually make a non-musical Aladdin, which would be interesting in the fact that it wouldn't have any songs. Also, they're quoting Will Smith to play the genie, so...
Yeah, I read that. Kind of weird. Maybe they can get Jaden to play,
oh, God.
Aladdin. He's 18 now, isn't he?
You ever read Jaden Smith's Twitter feed?
Yeah, I have.
I feel like he's constantly on drugs. Or that time he went to the Met Gala and he brought his dreadlocks with as a... I don't know, he just brought them with. He had chopped them off and he brought them with. And
what?
I remember reading an article that was Jaden Smith brought his dreads to the Met Gala and it is basically everything. And I'm like, who even cares? I think that's the only future for this franchise that I heard of anyway, is the live-action movie.
Yeah, they don't seem to be doing much
prequel. They're supposedly making a Genies prequel. It's just about genies.
Huh. Well, that could be interesting, I guess.
But
who knows,
there hasn't been any mention of it since, I think, 2 years ago. So whether or not it's still even happening is
yeah, well, I mean, Disney has... Right now, Disney has, Star Wars and Marvel and, some of the other movies that they've been bringing back that have been really popular. And Aladdin's, a pretty famous Disney movie, but it's not, really on many people's radar right now. It's probably not really on Disney's radar to do anything too special with either, until maybe the live-action one comes out, depending on how that one does.
They've got so many live-action movies.
I'm going to predict right now it's going to bomb. Just going to predict it.
I actually agree. I think it will bomb. I just get that feeling from it.
Yeah.
Because I think by the time that it comes out, people will be like, why are we even seeing these live-action remakes anymore? Well, anyway, we're not...
that superhero bubble bursts soon. Just got to put that in every episode of this.
That's Disney, by the way. That is mostly on Disney right now, because Disney owns Marvel.
Yep.
And, the only other superhero movies are what? DC, and they put out
not really. They put out Suicide Squad, so...
Yeah, DC's superhero movies are barely superhero movies. Anyway, I guess we could talk about how well it works as a trilogy now.
Not very.
Yeah, really poorly.
Especially since the second and third one are supposed to be the introduction and finale to the TV show, so those probably go a lot better with the TV show than the first movie. And then just if you're watching it all in a row, just the hit in animation really does hit you. It gets slightly better in the third one, I guess. Or maybe I just got used to it by the end of the third one.
Well, also
I think that the scene at the end of the third one where everything turns gold, I think that was pretty good.
That was pretty good, yeah, it was. I don't know, I feel like there was no coherent plot narrative for the characters. There was no continuing through line through the three movies that would have tied them together.
Yeah, because the thing is, and I can understand why they did this actually, because of the whole cartoon thing. And as in TV cartoon, not like cartoon as an animation, but the characters go through like their character development, and it's mainly Aladdin who like learns a lesson in the first one, right?
Yeah.
And then you think like, okay, he's gonna retain that lesson for the second one, but I guess they just use the second one as a way to reintroduce like who these characters are to kids who are watching it, because he kind of just learns the same exact thing, and it's like the same exact characters and lesson. Not, I don't know about lesson, but moral theme, whatever you want to call it, in the second one. So
yeah. And then the third one, I guess, tries to split away from the first two, but
it's kind of just Aladdin lying again.
Like Aladdin's
the
character.
thing he learned in the first movie, second movie, probably a lot of the TV episodes, and I guess this again.
It's like, and I guess the excuse is, it's a children's television show. They don't need to have character development, which is like a nonsense excuse.
Which isn't really true.
Yeah, because you can totally have character development in a kid's TV show. It's like, and you would think that, if the second and third one, even if they wouldn't have worked as a trilogy, you'd expect there to be some sort of jump in character between the second and third one, between the characters, because they would have had all those television episodes in between, but there's not. It feels like all those episodes must have just been filler almost.
Well, I mean, not really, because it's the thing where you have to, the episode sets up the problem and has to go back to how it was at the beginning of the episode in each episode.
But that's not to say, like, overall, like, Aladdin couldn't have become, Vizier at the end of a season or one of the episodes and, like, taking on the responsibility.
I don't know anything about the show, so maybe we're just talking out of our asses here. So.
I didn't even know there was a show till we picked this trilogy, so... Yeah. I did know about the Hercules show, though.
Yeah, I mean... I don't know if I knew about it, but I mean, if someone told me, like, hey, there's an Aladdin show, it's not like I'd be surprised in any way.
I'd be a little bit surprised because, like, really, Aladdin was the franchise they chose to turn into a TV show?
They did it for almost all of them, though. I think there's even a Mulan one.
Yes. I don't think there was a Little Mermaid. Was there a Little Mermaid one?
I don't know.
They're doing a Tangled one right now.
Yeah, I've seen that, actually.
Anyway, expanded universe, TV show, like we said.
Yeah, probably other stuff aimed at kids, like Valentine's cards, toys. I don't know why the Valentine's cards first before the toys.
They did a stage version at Disney California Adventure, which I saw back in the day. Thought it was pretty cool. I just like seeing things on stage because I don't know, I just like the stage and I like seeing how they do things on stage. And yeah, that got replaced with the Frozen one now, so good luck finding that version of the stage show, because I think in 2013 they're like, when Disney was also realizing that they could put every single one of their movies on Broadway and it would make a ton of money, they were like, we can put Aladdin on Broadway.
I'm sure somebody recorded the show. I'm sure it's somewhere out there online.
Probably, yeah. I haven't seen it, although I have listened to their version of Friend Like Me, and I think it is superior to the movie version. You know what? There, I said it. I think it's superior.
Well, I guess we just lost all our listener base.
All 7 of them. All 2 people who made it this far, you and me, in this episode. Anyway. Yeah, that's all I have to say about Aladdin.
I think that's it.
Super duper over this trilogy.
Glad we never have to watch that again. Based on the premise of this podcast.
You never know. They have kids, and then they're like, I just really love Aladdin 3. Aladdin 3 is my favorite movie. And you're like, okay, well, you watch that, and I'll go sit in the other room. Thank you.
Yeah, I wonder how my mom felt with me watching Bambi for over 2 years.
Should ask her. She'll be like, oh, man, I remember that. Anyway, you can email us at thedoctor@decorativevegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, your thoughts on Aladdin. You can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play, all at Triple Play. I almost said you could find us at Aladdin. That was not correct. You can find us at Triple Play. Leave a rating if you liked the show.
Check us out on Facebook, Triple Play, or Facebook.com/3P Podcast. And also check us out on Twitter at 3P Podcast. And next time we're watching the Aladdin Hercules crossover thing. But if you want to skip that, and I might not blame you.
We could also watch the stage show. I guess we really wanted to.
Yeah, so I guess you'll never know unless you listen to next month's episode. But then after that, the next trilogy we're doing is the Alien trilogy.
Thank God, a good trilogy, supposedly. The first two movies are supposedly good.
I've seen the second one.
I've seen the first one, I liked it.
Until then, the end.